Welcome back to another episode of Good Time Bikes, sponsored by Richard's Bicycles. And today's subject, rust and how to clean it off your parts. And I have rust on my frame, and we'll cover how to clean it off that as well. Now let's get started. Okay, so the first thing you have to do before you derust is degrease. So take any of your greasy parts that have oil or any sort of grease or grime on it and clean it off. There's a bunch of different ways to do this, and the way I'm doing it is just spray it with brake cleaner real quick and wipe it down. This is where it starts to get a little bit more fun. This is Eastwood's Rust Dissolver. Just pour it into a container that hopefully fits all the parts that you're looking to derust. And for your parts that aren't as rusty, maybe 3, 4, 5 hours is enough for them. You can pull those out. For some of the rustier ones, 8 hours or even leave them overnight and then check them the next day might be long enough for those. For those of you who have seen my previous videos, you already know I'm a big Eastwood fan, and this is probably one of my most favorite products from them because it works so well. And there are other rust dissolving products that I've heard of out there, like Evapo-Rust. That's another really popular one. So I left my parts in here overnight, and some of the chrome parts came out absolutely gorgeous. And some of the not chrome parts came out with a little bit of a darker hue to it, but there's something we have that's going to fix that. And notice as I take the parts out of the liquid rust dissolver, I'm putting them into water, and you want to definitely rinse off that chemical. And look at all the decades of rust and gunk and sludge that came off these parts. Here we have another Eastwood product. This is their tumbler, and it's actually filled with crushed walnut, so this will bring all the parts to a real high shine. And this is the step that'll fix those parts that have a darker hue. Remember when I said the chrome parts come out looking gorgeous? I wasn't kidding. Look at the comparison, the before and after. And just for good measure, I'm going to put these in the tumbler also. Once I have everything loaded up, it's time to flip it on and let the tumbler go to work. I left it on for about 2 overnight sessions. Okay, that's enough about the small stuff like the hardware. Now, how about the big stuff like fenders and handlebars? This is where it gets a little interesting. I actually made a fender-shaped box, and then I lined it with a garbage bag and filled it with the Eastwood Rust Dissolver, and then I put my fender in it. And it actually worked out really well. This was my strategy for most of the big chrome parts, except for the handlebars. That's where it gets even more bizarre. I decided there was no good way to make a box for these handlebars, and that's when I went to eBay. I purchased basically like a plastic sleeve. I slid it over my handlebars, tied off one end, and then I filled it with Eastwood's Rust Dissolver. I finished off by tying off the other end and clamping it in my repair stand. I left it there for about 5 hours, and it actually worked really well. This method is probably the most popular. Fine steel wool and some sort of lubricant like WD-40. I used it on my seat post because the seat post really wasn't in that bad of condition. It actually turned out great. Okay, now it's time to switch gears and see what I can do about this big eyesore of a rust spot on my frame. A quick fix for this one is to use Eastwood's Gel Rust Dissolver. I lather it on there just with a regular brush, and then I take a flap of plastic wrap and wrap it over, and I tape it off. Just for good measure, I actually reapplied it after 3 hours. I let it sit for a total of 6 hours, and it actually did a pretty good job. I should have left it a little bit longer, but I'll admit, I got a little impatient. Well, there you have it. And like I said, had I left it on there a little bit longer, what rust you do see would have been gone. But hey, you can't argue with the end result, because that looks great. The rust was actually soft enough where you could scrape it off with your fingernail, but I actually used a razor blade. Turned out really nice. Now it's time for a bottle of Violet Touch-Up paint, and it's hard to tell, but my top tube is actually faded quite a bit, and that's from kids over the decades putting their feet up there or just straddling the bike. So naturally this isn't going to be a perfect match, but it's going to look a lot better than a big old rust spot. Okay, well there it is. I know there's a lot of different ways to clean chrome out there, but I showed some of the ways that I like to get the job done. And with this video, that brings me one step closer to getting this bike back on the road. And what do you do with a bike like that? Do you just hang it back up in the garage or put it back in the basement? Or do you do something else with it? Well, keep watching these videos and find out what my big announcement is, because I have about 1 or 2 videos left, and then I'll have to let you guys know what my next steps are going to be with it. Also, I actually need your help because I'm undecided. Do you remember the STP sticker and the Playboy Bunny sticker that was on the back fender? Well, I had to take those off to clean the fender, so let me know down in the comments if I should buy those off of eBay and put them back on there. Well, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep watching Good Time Bikes, sponsored by Richard's Bicycles. I'll see you later.